Hi folks, Chris Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com, thechrisvossshow.com. Come here, blog post we want to share with you, of course, review the latest in social media and technology. Give us a like, subscribe, tell your friends, neighbors, rats, relatives, rats, dogs, cats, whatever. Relatives and rats, I put those two together, didn't I? Depends on your family. So, what we're going to do is compare two different phones today. The AT&T iPhone 5S Gold Edition against the AT&T Motorola Moto X. We're going to put these two babies head to head, see who wins and see what comes out. Check it out. Okay, so let's take a look at both these devices and how they match up. We're going to start off with the specs. Be sure to watch all the way through. We're going to compare photos, benchmarks, cameras, iOS, body styles, some of the different unique features of both these devices. So we'll get into it. Let's take a look here. With the iPhone 5S, let's start off with the dimensions. The dimensions are 4.87 inches in height, 2.31 in width, and 0.30 inches in thickness. On the Motorola Moto X, you're looking at 5.09 inches in height, 2.57 in width, and 0.41 inches in thickness. On the weight for both these devices, on the 5S, you're looking at a weight of 3.95 ounces. For our metric friends, that's 112 grams. On the Moto X, you're looking at 4.59 ounces for 130 grams for our metric friends over on the other side of the oceans. With the body type display, actually, let's get into it. It's an LED backlit IPS LCD capacitive touchscreen with 16 million colors on the 5S. You're looking at a 640 by 1136 pixel screen, 4 inches at 326 ppi pixel density. That's pixels per inch on the ppi. On the Motorola Moto X, you're looking at a 4.7 inch screen with 720 by 1280 pixels, 316 ppi, and it's a Super AMOLED screen, 16 million colors, etc., etc. On the Apple iPhone 5S, you're looking at a battery of, I believe, 1560 milliamp hours on the battery for it. With the Moto X, you're looking at 2200 milliamp hours, so a whole lot more memory to work with there. Or, I'm sorry, battery to work with there on the Moto X. With the card, the chip that is in the Apple, you're looking at iOS 7, of course. It's running in software 7.0.2 as of right now. They just came out with an update this morning. The Apple A7 chip is in it, which is a special 64-bit chip, ultra fast, we're finding. It's got a dual-core 1.3 gigahertz Cyclone chip in it, and it's very fast. It's beating everything in the market right now with cell phones in the speed of its chip, as the recording this video, I should mention. With the chip that's inside the Moto X, it has a modified Motorola X8, which is a Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 Pro, and they've done some different modifications to it to make it so it's always listening but doesn't burn a lot of battery power. It's got a dual-core 1.7 gigahertz Kraut. On the iPhone 5S, you're looking at 1 gigabyte of RAM. You can get 16 gigabytes of storage on it, and if you want, you can upgrade to 32 and 64. You just got to pay extra for the phone. There's no expandable memory on the iPhone 5S. On the Moto X, you're looking at memory for this device. Comes in at 2 gigabytes of RAM, 16 gigabytes of built-in storage. In the iPhone 5S, you're looking at a camera of 8 megapixels. It's supposed to have expanded, kind of bigger pixels, if you will, than normal cameras, I guess, and a special sensor size to equate for it. The video is 1080p at 30 frames per second. It also has a slow-mo video at 720p for 120 frames per second, and it's got advanced video stabilization. The front-facing camera is 1.2 megapixels at 720 pixels at 30 frames per second. It has FaceTime on it. With the Moto X, you're looking at a camera of 10 megapixels out the back. It's got 1080p HD video at 60 frames per second. Video on it is pretty darn rich, I gotta tell you. It's got 2 megapixels out the front, and my understanding, 1080p video out the front camera there. Now, some major differences between both these devices. The Apple iPhone 5S has got your fingerprint technology where you can put your finger on it and program it to open it and download apps. One thing that's interesting about the Moto X that you have on it is you can take and, of course, speak to it, and that makes a difference. We'll show you that here in a second The other thing to mention with the Moto X is you have NFC technology in it, so you can put it up against things and activate the NFC portion chip of the phone. All right, so let's take a walk around these devices so that we can see what they do and body-wise. Your front-facing camera is on the iPhone 5S. You've got a speaker for your calls, you've got a sensor, and you've got a home button and also a fingerprint sensor that's here. On the Moto X, you're looking at some sensors over here, and you're looking at the speaker for the calls. Your front-facing camera is here. You've got a small microphone hole here, and you've got a capacitive back button, a home button, and a kind of recent apps button, if you will. The menu buttons are built into the Motorola X. Flipping around the back here, both have sealed backs. There's no expandable memory to either of them. On the Apple iPhone 5S, you've got your camera here, your microphone, your dual flash. On your Moto X, you're looking at your camera eye back here, your flash, your speaker. Not really impressed with the speaker. I don't think it does a very good job and have been happy with it. And you've got your microphone down here. I just feel it's better. The speakers are better on a lot of other phones. I just really feel the speaker's substandard. Not real happy with it. If you get the phone, make sure you get a Bluetooth or maybe use a headset or something of that nature. It's an okay speaker, but if you're going to do speakerphone calls like I do, people are going to have trouble hearing you. Let's take a walk around both these devices so you can see how they look and the thickness of them comparatively. Across the top here we have your earphone jack in the center, microphone, power button for your iPhone 5S. Around the right hand side you've got your power button here, volume rocker. You've got a nano card area for the 5S. And across the back we have a sync charging cable area, and then of course we also have one for the 5S. Below it you've got your speaker grill and your earphone jack. Coming down the left hand side you've got the area for your SIM card and buttons for your volume and mute switch for your iPhone 5S. I do like the curved back to the Moto X. It definitely feels very comfortable in the hand, but it's really up to you. Now, one aspect of the Moto X that's very interesting and very unique to it is that it's got a volume that's always listening. So, what you can do is you can talk to it, and of course you can program it to your voice. A lot of people like this, and it's a selling feature of the phone. The other thing you can do is you can get this phone in a variety of different colors. You can choose your front and back colors from, I don't know, about 40 or I don't know, several different hundreds of combinations, I'm sure. But different colors you can take and choose from, and color formats, and choosing your front to back. You can even have the back engraved with some sort of engraving that you want to take and do. So very unique custom made feature there. Now with the Moto X, what it does is it works with Google Now. So there you go. As soon as I say OK Google Now, it will ask me for information. I can go through a help me. You can see here it's a little confused with all the different information it was listening to as I was rambling on. But normally what this will do is look for different things and help you achieve different things with your device. And all you need to do is simply say, OK Google Now, and there it comes up. It will talk to you with different text messages that come in. There's a driving mode that it can take and do. There's also a mode where it will take and not bother you at different times of day. There's also a mode where it will take and make sure that in meetings it doesn't bother you. So you've got several different settings you can do. Some interesting things there with the Moto X. It's always listening, and it can always take you into stuff. So it's up to you to decide which of that sort of feature works for you and is cool. Okay, so let's take a look at how the cameras on both these devices work. You can take a look and see as how the action on them operates. So we've got pretty simple format over here with the iPhone 5S. You can, of course, change your flash modes. You can switch from front-facing camera to rear-facing camera. You can, of course, focus here. You've got an HDR on and off mode. You can, of course, zoom by swiping your fingers across the screen. It also has something that's very new to the iOS system. It's got different filters you can take and utilize in here for your photo shoots. You can page between the different formats that you want to take and utilize. Your square, which you can use for Instagram, stuff like that, different square shots. You have pano for panoramic shots, normal photo shots that you can take and do here. You've also got video, where you can take and do video of anything you want to take and do. You've also got slow-mo, where you can do slow-mo shots at 120 frames per second. You can also customize it and mix it with different shots where you can do normal speed and then suddenly go slow-mo and then do normal speed again. Very interesting, and you can even get into your gallery here. So let's take a look at how the camera works on the Moto X. And the Moto X does have kind of some interesting things that they took and did with this. You can see here you can turn on your video here. You can take your front-facing camera here. You can shoot just by touching on the screen, and it will take a picture and all that good stuff. Now, the interesting thing is with their screen, you can do different things to get into different menus. So I can get into different menus over here. You can even have slow-mo video. I can adjust panoramic shots. I can set location, all the settings in here. I can even set this up so that if I want to swivel the device in kind of a swivel motion going up, I can activate the camera without having to press any buttons. It's kind of hard to do, but I don't know, some people like that sort of thing. The thing of the Moto X is to make a phone that you don't have to always press buttons to. You can either talk to or make gestures holding the phone to be able to get it to do what you want. So kind of interesting concept there. You can get into your gallery by swiping from the right to the left. So you can see some of our other pictures here. You can see that you can also do some different things to add some different filters to them if you want in post-production. So, and you can also do some other adjustments that they've got here with their settings. So very interesting in the differences between these cameras, how they're set up and how they operate. It's really up to you which one you feel might work best for you. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to compare the camera photos with the Moto X and the iPhone 5S, and we'll take a look at the pictures. Now, of course, we're not using this on the small screens. We're blowing them up into big pictures on our computer, and we'll take a look at them, and we can evaluate them much better this way. So, we have here the iPhone 5 picture. Now, this is taken in my laundry room in utter complete darkness in the middle of the night. There's no light to help it find stuff other than probably these little LED lights that are here, which aren't much help. What they are doing is the object is to get the camera to be able to take the flash, be able to find its point of focus, and take a great picture. So you can see here the iPhone 5 S does a very good job of it. You notice, though, there's a lot of yellows here, and we'll get to this as you see the theme through some of this. But the yellow really comes out strong in these pictures. So let's go to the Moto X pictures and take a look at those and see how those turned out. And we'll compare them. Now, here's the same style of photo, which is in complete and utter darkness. It's a little bit different position that we shot this in, but as you can see, the Moto X has an incredible flash to it, and it just really does a great job of taking pictures. Pretty much beats out, when it comes to the flash, the iPhone 5S. And if you notice here, the colors are very balanced, where there's a real definition or broadcast of the yellow here. So let's take a look at some of the other photos in this series that we have. Now, this is another photo where what this has done is this is taken in complete and utter darkness in my kitchen in the middle of the night. There's no light to help this out, and pretty much it's up to the camera to make the flash work. And of course, we're testing how well it will work in a more broader area. The iPhone 4S does a great, or I'm sorry, the 5S does a great job taking this photo. You can see here pretty good detail. It doesn't get totally in focus, but such is the nature of shooting in complete darkness. Here's the Moto X photo. The Moto X photo seemed to struggle a little bit at getting the focus done in a longer shot or a bigger shot done in the dark. We actually took two photos of this to see if we could get a better focal point. As you can see, we really didn't. So, well, the flash worked really well in small areas or close-up areas. In long areas, the Moto X flash wasn't quite as good. Now let's go to the iPhone 5, and we'll take a look at the iPhone 5 pics. Here we have the a picture taken with the iPhone 5S. And in this picture, this is very interesting, and one thing we really noticed with the iPhone 5S, you have a lot of yellows. This chimney is not yellow, this house isn't yellow, this house isn't that yellow. You can see there's no real definition of the wall here. There's very harsh blue here on the garbage can, and you can see a lot of the greens here come out really strongly. Green, yellow, blue. Looks like it might be software adjusted, maybe that, or the aperture or the camera is just bringing too much light and enhancing these, but most likely it's a software enhancement. We saw this with the HTC One cameras, where where certain colors were enhanced to give the impression of people who don't know better that, oh, look, my pictures have more light in them, so they're better. And let's face it, most people don't take good pictures, so giving them the ability to cheat and have more light might work. I don't know. That's just my theory. So let's take a look at the Moto X photos, and we'll take a look at how the Moto X photos came out, if we can find them here. Now this is taken on a different day with the Moto X, but it's taken in the same general area, a little bit of overcast. So if you're seeing a little bit of not quite as bright and colorful on the iPhone 5S, the reason is this was overcast. It might have been a different time in the morning, but we didn't quite have as much sunlight as we did. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this photo. But what we are interested in is the colors in the photo that we're getting. You see the definition here along the wall. You see the definition on the chimney. This house looks white, which it is. This house does not look like bright yellow. You can actually see the definition in the kind of attic roof area here, if you will. The greens are balanced well, etc., etc. And to do this, what we'll do is we'll flip back to the iPhone 5S. And you can see the difference here. Even though it's a brighter picture and there was less clouds out and there was more sunlight, it's just blown out in these pictures. We actually went back and took pictures with the iPhone 5S on a different day to see if it was just because there was too much light here. There wasn't. We got the same sort of results, so we stuck with them. So there you have it. One thing we've noticed with the iPhone 5S, it's got a lot of blown up pictures to it when it comes to the yellow, greens, and blues. Now, the Moto X, of course, is a 10 megapixel camera, so it's going to get more detail and capture more detail for you and all that good stuff. Some people say that doesn't matter. It seems to matter from what we're seeing here on the stuff that we're taking a look at. So let's go to the next thing we want to look at with the iPhone 5. We'll take a look at a close-up of some cactus that we took and shot. And these were taken on 2 different days, so keep that in mind. Here we have the Moto X. We're trying to have the focal point be right here in kind of a macro shot. We're right on top of it with this macro shot, and we lose the focus here. You can see, though, the outer area picks up really good focus in this area. But is trying to get right into this shot doesn't quite work for us. So the Moto X, it's not all these cameras are designed for macro. You can see here we have the same sort of struggle with the iPhone 5S. It didn't really, it struggled to get in here and did fairly well on the outside. But it's up to you to determine which of these photos you think is best. We'll flip to the other one here. They seem fairly comparable to me. There might be a little bit more colorization in the iPhone 5S or a little more detail. It's up to you to decide. These are 2 really tough pictures to take and analyze, and really I'm more interested in the color than anything in how these operated. So let's go to another version here that we can take a look at. Now, these are taken on 2 different days on 2 different settings, but what's interesting about these photos is the difference in the quality of them. Now, here we have the iPhone 5S, okay? Now, you notice, if you look really closely, there's a lot of blown out yellows and greens in here. A lot of yellow, really strong, etc., etc. This isn't the real color of the ground. See how it's kind of this ugly brown, kind of a dog poop brown? Back in here, it's kind of a interesting brown color. That's not the real color of the ground, which is the biggest concern for me. Now, this is the normal shot and the real colors of the ground out here.
and everything else. And you got much more detail, less blowout of the greens and yellows when you take a look at these. See how this is, it almost looks enhanced or photoshopped, if you will. And these are the natural photos coming off the iPhone 5S. So, you know, take that for what you will. I really feel the Moto X is just a better camera. I've seen a lot of cameras from what we're seeing where this is the issue here. So, we're going to take a look at another picture. Let's try something else. This is another interesting thing that we took and did. This is with the Moto X, and if you notice, you can see the veins here of the leaves and everything else, and of course the yellowness over here of the deal. The ground is very natural color. So what we did is we took a photo with the iPhone 5S. If you can see here, we have the same problem again. Too much yellows and greens. What's interesting is the veins are blown out. You can't see the veins in focus here. Let's try and zoom in and see if that corrects the problem. Even if you zoom in, it doesn't correct the problem. It's just blown out. So either we have an iPhone or something that has a whole lot of yellow being added to it and manipulation of the camera and the software. It's supposed to be ultra pixels, which make the pixels bigger, and maybe because the pixels are bigger, the definition isn't quite as high. So that may very well be the case, but we're pretty much seeing this in a lot of comparisons with cameras where the other cameras are pretty much getting the definition they need and the colors are there. So what can you say? And that's pretty much it. Now let's take a look at some of the video that's out here and how the video works. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to show you video, and the video we're going to show you is going to be, once again, we'll start off with stuff where we're in a completely dark area. This is a very small room. You can see the iPhone 5S takes fairly good video in this dark area. It's got a fairly good lamp flash. Not the greatest that I've seen in a mobile phone, but it does a fairly good job. We'll go ahead and compare this with the same room with the Moto X. See how that runs. So you can see here the Moto X has got a really, really bright lamp flash. Does a really incredible job. Definitely beats the iPhone 5S in brightness and everything else. Very simple and easy to figure that baby out. Now we're going to go to another test where this is going to be in my kitchen once again, only we'll be doing video. Now this is the iPhone 5S. As you can see here, really struggling in a big room to light up anything or see what's going on and everything else. So we'll flip out of that and we'll go to the Moto X. See how the Moto X does. The Moto X does a better job. You can actually see stuff in the room. How about that for a change? A little bit of miscoloring. You know, that back door looks yellow, which it's not, but you know, it's definitely doing a much better job than the iPhone 5S in its lamp. So that's what we're really concerned about, how well the lamp can light stuff up. Now let's go with the day video. Now what I want you to keep in mind here again is what we talked about. See how the bright yellows are blown out here? We've got super greens and everything else. See how this is still yellow over here? You can't see the lattices that are up here by the roof. This looks like a completely yellow home. The white home almost looks yellow in the colors that it is, the blue. The same sort of issues we saw with the camera we're seeing with the video. So let's take a look at how the Moto X shot at. Incredible amount of difference. If you can't see the difference here, you got to go get your eyes checked. I mean, that's pretty much just it. Not sure why we're getting this silly thing here, but you can see the detail over here. Sure, Windows 8. You gotta love Windows 8. You can see the detail over here on the wall. You can see that this is a normal looking wall. You can see the lattices up here on the roof. The Moto X wins this camera thing hands down. Just beats out the iPhone 5S totally, without a question or doubt. Okay, so here you can see the Geekbench 3 scores that we've taken and done with the S and the Moto X 5S. So you got 1415 single core score versus 679 single score on the Moto X. On the multi-core score for the 5S, you're looking at 2565 versus 1254. Definitely a huge speed increase between these two puppies. So let's go ahead and page down. You can take a look at these numbers. And the great thing about this app is you can download, follow along at home, see how your phone measures up to these phones, and determine maybe which phones might work best for you, or which phones you might want to take and upgrade to. It's really up to you and what you want to do there and all that good stuff. See if we can get these due. I normally don't worry about these numbers, so we'll just quickly page down through them, and people that are interested in them can pause the video at any given time to compare the numbers and all that good stuff. Okay, so here we have the 3D mark. This is the ultimate test that we're doing, the Ice Storm Ultimate. 13,291 versus 10,616. You can see here that the iPhone 5S definitely beat out the Moto X. So you can see the graphics score actually outperformed it by quite a bit. Physics score were about the same, which is kind of interesting. A lot more frames per second on the graphics score 1 test and 2, and physics tests about the same. Very interesting how that turned out. Okay, so here we have the Passmark performance test mobile app test on the iPhone 5S versus the HTC One. You can see here the scores on the 5S came in at 5454 versus 2784. Paging down through the CPU units and stuff, you can see here that the score was 35,380 versus 6180. On the disk test, you're looking at 23,621 versus 12,065. Memory is 5,339 versus 3,281, and 2D is 2492 versus 2826. 3D graphics test 1938 versus 819. Okay, so here you can see we have the GFX benchmark test 2.7, and the test came in at 13,701 frames at 24 frames per second versus the Moto X coming in at 903 frames at 16 frames per second. The on-screen test came in at 2,031 frames at 36 frames per second versus 1,484 frames at 25 frames per second. There you have it. Okay, so we like both these devices. The iPhone 5S is definitely one of the fastest phones on the market. You're looking at going to AT&T.com, our good friends over there. Tell them Chris Voss sent you. Chris Voss tested, Chris Voss approved. They have the fastest download and upload speeds, so thanks to them for sharing their wonderful phones with us. They have both these phones there, and of course you can tune in the Chris Voss Show, like us on this video please, and subscribe to us so we can keep bringing these videos. Watch for all the different reviews we're going to be doing with the iPhone, new iPhones. We're going to be reviewing them against about 25 other phones, so it should be pretty amazing. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to check back in often.